and you were talking about the metabolic markers for PVD, purulent vaginal discharge, and subclinical endometritis in dairy cows. So one of the clinical diseases probably could be ketosis as well, but it includes retained placenta, metritis, DA, mastitis as well as being classified as non-healthy, right?
Yep.
And so you had healthy cows, cows that had only PVD, and cows that had subclinical clinical endometritis. Do you call them SCE or you call them subclinical, or you just say endometritis?
Yeah, well, so there's a
because PVD
whole,
is easy. SCE doesn't sound good. I don't know why.
So okay, let's just call them subclinical endometritis, or even just endometritis if you want. But yeah, there's a little bit of yeah, let's say controversy on exactly how to work out the case definitions and the jargon. But I think the concept we're trying to get at with that paper is, okay, healthy cows have no detected reproductive tract disease. The PVD, or purulent vaginal discharge, are cows that we found with the MetriCheck, and you know, you and your student a few years ago did a really nice video of how to use that tool to detect cows with that pus discharge in the repro tract. And then last but not least are these cows that would be negative on the MetriChecks. They don't have pus, but if you go in the uterus and do cytology, you can see that they have this chronic low-grade smoldering inflammation. So we call that, well, that means endometritis, and we call it subclinical because if you just look at the cow, and even if you look at the vaginal discharge, there's nothing there. So it's truly subclinical. You can't see it, but it's there. And so with this paper, we were trying to understand a little bit more in depth about what was going on metabolically with those cows, because our concept is that, and that's more or less what the data supported, these are probably kind of different versions of reproductive tract problems that the cows had. So it used to be, we thought, okay, yep, some cows have this smoldering inflammation in their uterus that we call endometritis, and if it's bad enough, then they'll actually have pus coming out through their cervix that we could see sometimes just by looking at the cow, or if we do a MetriCheck or something. And long story short, over the years, we found that at the very least, that's not the whole story. Maybe for some cows, that's the story, but for a bunch of cows, they have pus, and so they've got a reproductive tract problem for sure, but it may not be because they have uterine inflammation at that moment. Some of them just have cervicitis. That's still a problem, but it's maybe a different problem. And then there's these other cows that don't have any pus, but do have inflammation. And so we're trying to figure out what's up with that. And the other piece, not from this paper, but from some other work that we've done and other people too, if you try to do or if you do a culture or even check the microbiome of these different groups of cows, there's differences there too. So the pus cows, the PVD cows, kind of do what you expect. You would get pathogens that you would grow from them, usually one called Truparella. Their microbiome looks different than healthy cows and different than subclinical cows. So that kind of all makes sense, and we often treat those cows with antibiotics, and that story pretty much makes sense. But it's the other ones that we kind of still scratching our heads, because in those cows, we often don't see a difference with the microbiome. If you cultured them, you don't really grow pathogens, yet they're inflamed. Why are they inflamed? What's going on with them? And so again, long story short, we're seeing these pieces of evidence that these cows have some metabolic differences, and it seems like they're just not able to control or to fine-tune their inflammation, in particular in their uterus, as they recover after calving.